We continue now at the top of Daf Gimel Amud Aleph Meseches Shabbos. This is Shabbos Daf 103a. We just had a machlokas between Rav and Shmuel regarding whether a number of cases are considered to be binyan or whether they're considered to be makav patish. The Gemara here brings a proof. It says hakodeach kol shu chayiv. If somebody drills any amount, they are chayiv. Rashi here says hakodeach v'chol hakodeach al minas lemalosu. Anytime a person drills, it's in order to fill the thing up eventually. Leskoa bo yasid, you're going to put in some kind of peg. V'shelo lemalos kari no cave. Now, if it's done not to fill up, then we call that no cave. So kodeach, by definition, is you're going to fill it up. So it says you're chayiv. So the Gemara says bishlam rav michzi command chor chursa lebinyana. Makes sense according to Rav. It's as if you're making a hole for some kind of binyan. Rashi says bishlam rav damar nekev have binyan. It makes sense according to Rav, who says that when you make a hole, let's say in a chicken coop, that's considered bona hainami binyan have. This is also bona kolshu. It's a bona kolshu. You're building a small amount. Even though you're eventually going to fill it up, this is part of the process of the building process. It makes sense. Rashi says, again, you drill a hole. But according to Shmuel, who said that you make the hole in the chicken coop, it's considered makav patish. Over here, why would you be chayiv? You're not doing any kind of, there's no finishing malacha. Rashi says, El Shmuel damar nokev lav bona. According to Shmuel, it says nokev is not bona. Bishlam nekev delul ikol memar makav patish. That I understand is makav patish when you do it in a chicken coop. Omed listom. But here, where you're not done at all with the malacha, you're going to fill it with something. Lav gmar malacha. That's not gmar malacha. Again, that's the difference between kodeach and nokev. Kodeach, by definition, you're going to fill it up. Nokev is not that way. So it's a question on Shmuel. Why should you be chayiv in this case? So the Gemara says, and here, what are we talking about in this case of kodeach? The boze beramza the parzula v'shavke begavya dehainu gmar malacha. Rashi here explains the baze beramza the parzula b'mismar oruch shel barzel. You take a long iron peg. V'shavke begavya lisloshba. In other words, the same item that you're using, this iron item that you're using to make the hole, to drill the hole, you're actually leaving it there. And you're going to leave it there, lislosh, really, it should be lislosba, that Rashi, that you're doing it to hang things from there. So in this case, it actually is a Gemara Malacha. That's the only way that Shmuel can explain this brisa. That's what the Gemara says. Gemara continues quoting the Mishnah, Zeh klal leisuye mai. What is the rule, usually when you have a Zeh klal that includes something? What is it including? Leisuye dechak kefiza bekava. Rashi explains dechak kefiza bekava. Begolim gadol haroy lachuk bo kav. Let's say you have a large cavity which can hold a kav, chakak shalosh lug, and you drill 3 lug. Now you don't do the whole thing. Now even though you're going to add onto it, you can actually continue to make this hole a little larger. Yesha mekaymin kain. So some people just drill that much, and so that's considered to be, that's the idea here, that's considered to be bona. The idea is that even though you have enough space to drill out an area of a volume of 4 lug, that's a kav, so since you did 3 lug, since some people leave it to be 3 lug, they leave it as 3 lug, even though others will add on and do the full 4, that's considered to be bona. Gemara here continues, Rav Shimon Gamliel Omer, hamake bekornas al asad and v'chulu. The case over there in the Mishnah was a person bangs the hammer against an anvil. So the Gemara asks, my Kovid, what is the malacha over here? Why is this, what's he even doing? Rabba v'Rav Yosef da'ami tarvayu. Rabba and Rav Yosef both explain, in this case, he's training his hand to hit properly with the hammer, and that's going to be considered a malacha on Shabbos. Rashi here says, he's got to train his hands. Sometimes you got to hit strong, sometimes you don't hit as strong. So he's trying to train his hand to do the proper strength, and that's going to be considered a malacha according to this answer. So the Gemara says, kashu ba b'nei rachva. So the b'nei rachva had a question on this answer. According to that logic, if you watch somebody, you watch a craftsman on Shabbos and you learn how to do work, you're going to be chayiv because you're learning how to do malacha. That's basically what Rav and Rav Yosef are saying. Rather Abai and Rava give another answer. They say Shekain Marada de Tase Mishkan Osen Kain. The people who used to make the metal plates in the Mishkan, which used to coat the krushim, which used to be plates over the krushim, they used to do this. The idea is that they needed it to be, they needed the hammer to be flat and to be smooth. Otherwise, it wouldn't work properly on these thin pieces of metal. Rashi says, Osen Kain Makin Gimel al Atas v'Achas al Asad. After every 3 hits they would do on the metal plate, they would hit once on the anvil, lahachlik hakornis, to make the the hammer smooth, shalo yivka hatas shudak, because it was a very thin piece of metal, it would split if it wasn't a smooth hammer. Ubali matbeya b'mkomenu reisi osin kain. Rashi ends off and says, the people who make coins in our areas, I have seen people do this. And the Gemara says, Tanya nami hachi, we have a brisa like this as well. Rav Shimon Gamliel Omer, Rav Shimon Gamliel says, Afa makka b'kornas al hasad and b'shas malacha chayev shekain meradadei tase mishkan osin kain. Even somebody who hits with a hammer on the anvil during the malacha, that's also chayev, because that's what they used to do when they used to make the metal plates in the Mishkan. Gemara now continues with the Mishnah, hachoresh kolshu, if somebody plows any amount, they're chayev on Shabbos. Haminachesh v'hamekarsem v'hamizared kolshu chayev. Someone's menachesh, which is you're pulling out you're trimming the bad parts of the tree or the plant, and that allows it to grow properly. That's called weeding. Mekarsem. Mekarsem is also similar. It's pruning. Rashi explains. Mekarsem kotzitz anafim yaveshim and ilon l'sakno. You're cutting the dry branches that helps the tree out. And the last case, mezared, Rashi says, rodin lachin chadoshim shel shana zu. This is when you have moist shoots from this year. Sometimes there's so many they weaken the tree. It causes it to dry out. So you need to cut them. So these are different kinds of pruning. So you do any of these things, you're chayiv even at a kolshu. Kolshu chayiv, even the smallest amount is considered chayiv. Hamalaket eitzim. Now let's say somebody is gathering wood. Im lasakein, if it's for productive purposes, kolshein, then any amount. Rashi says, what's the mean lasakein? Im lasakein es ha'ilon o es ha'karka, v'kotz etzom and ha'mechuber. Rashi understands that you're cutting the wood that's attached to the tree or the ground, and the idea is you're trying to fix the tree. So if that's the case, you're chayiv even with a kolshu. Now, im lahesek, if you're cutting this wood in order to create a fire, so then there's a shear, kedei lavashel beit zakala, enough to cook a light egg. Rashi says, beit zakala kegrogris mi beitzas tarnagolas. That means the size of a grogris from a chicken egg. Shakala hi lavashel mi kol ha-beitzim. The beitzas tarnagolas, we've said this before in the Meseches, is the easiest to cook from all the different eggs of various birds. And the Gemara says, Hamalaket asavim, if someone's collecting grass, cutting grass, em lasak and kolshu, again, if it's to fix the area in the ground that you're cutting the grass from, that's going to be chayiv even with a kolshu. Im lebehema, if you're cutting the grass to feed to a behema, kamole pi hagadi, then it's going to be the amount that fills the mouth of a goat. The Gemara asks, Lamai chazi, what is this fit for? The Gemara says, chazi lebizra dekara. Rashi explains here, lebizra dekra, lizroa besocha neima shel dalas. What you're going to do when you plow a small, tiny amount, you can plant in there one seed of a dalas, one seed of a gourd. And Rashi continues, V'afa gav d'shaninu, even though we learned le'inyan hotzoas zera, that when it comes to carrying seeds, diluin shnayim, you need two of the seeds for diluin. She'ein adam torech b'nei machas, because a person is not going to bother with just one. Hani mili hotzah, that refers to specifically to carrying the chimapik, tarti mapik. When you're carrying, you're going to take more than one. Ki hadad, you'll take two together. She'eno zorei achas levar, you're not going to just plant one. Avalin charisha, but when it comes to plowing, kol guma v'guma ba'ape nafsha avidle. Each hole that you're making in the ground, you're going to do independently, and therefore even one is going to be considered a malacha. Techvasa gabi mishkan, we find similarly by the Mishkan, shekain roy leklach echad shel samonim. One tiny amount of plowing is going to be fit for one stalk of samonim. Again, the samonim were the grasses that were used in order to create the dyes for the curtains in the Mishkan. Haminachesh, v'amekarsem, hamizarin. Those are all various forms of pruning. Taner Rabbanan, we learned in a brisa, tolesh, olshin, v'hamizared zradim. These are different kinds of grasses or reeds that you're uprooting. So if you uproot them, im la'achila, if you do it in order to feed or to eat, kegrogris, then it's a grogris. That's if a human's eating it. Im lebehema, if it's to feed to an animal, kemoli pi hagadi, then it's the amount that fills the mouth of a goat. Im lahesek, if it's to create a fire, kedei lavashel beit zakala, to cook a light egg. Im liyafos esakarka, and if it is to make the karka better, to improve the land, kolshein, then any amount that you do is going to be chayiv. So the Gemara says, Atu kulu loli yapos esakarkan, in all cases, aren't you doing it automatically? You're improving the ground, so it should always be a kolshu. So Rabba of Rav Yosef Damri Tarvaya Ba'agam Shanu. No, Rabba and Rav Yosef say if you're in a swampy area, there's no ground to really improve. So then that qualification or that shear wouldn't apply. Abaye says Afilu Tema Besada, even in a field, Delavagam, which is not a swamp, Ukagon Deloka Mechavin. And if you don't have intention to improve the land, then that's not going to count, and the sheer kolshu is not going to apply in that case, according to the answer of Abaye. V'ha Abaye v'Rava da'ami tarvaya. But one second, didn't Abaye and Rava both say Moder Rabbi Shimon b'psik reisha v'lo yamas. That Rabbi Shimon, who talks about the fact that you have to have kavana, he admits that something that's a certainty, you don't have to have kavana. That's psik reisha. Psik reisha means that you're going to cut off the head of an animal and it's not going to die, meaning if it's a certainty, you don't need any kavana. So what kind of answer is Abaye giving that you didn't have kavana? So the Gemara says, Lo tzricha dekavid bar dechabre. Fine, so we can give another answer where you are actually doing it in your friend's field. Rashi here explains, Biara dechavre lo ichbes le liapos. You don't even care to make it better. The Gemara phrase has a phrase psik reisha de lo nichale. It seems like Rashi's saying over here, psik reisha de lo nichale means not that it's a negative, but you don't care. It's something that you couldn't care less if your friend's field gets improved or not. So in such a case, even if it's a psik reisha, Rabbi Shimon will say that the fact that you had no kavana is going to mean you're not chayav for that shear, and therefore you go by these other shiurim that the Brisa has delineated. Gemara now continues with the Mishnah, Hakosev Shtei Osios, if a person on Shabbos writes 2 letters, Bein B'yamino, Bein B'smolo, whether he does it with his right hand or whether he does it with his left hand, Bein Mishem Echad, Bein Mishtei Shemos, whether it's from one name, Rashi here says, Bein Mishem Echad, Shtehen Alofin, let's say you wrote 2 aleph, or Mishtei Shemos, Aleph Beis, you wrote the letter Aleph Beis, in both of those cases, Bein Mishtei Samonius, Rashi says, let's say you did 2 kinds of inks. One was the black inks, Dio, and one was the red ink, Sikra. B'chol lashon, in any language, chayiv, you're chayiv for writing. Rashi says, B'chol lashon shall kol ksavim, v'gufon shall kol u'uma, the various shapes of letters of different nations. It doesn't make a difference. You write 2 letters in any of these fashions that we've described, you are chayiv. Amar Rabbi Yossi says, Lo chayivo shtei osios ela mishum roshem. When we talk about 2 letters being chayiv, it's only true because of roshem. Rashi here says, Mishum roshem simin shayosim b'karshei mishkan. They used to make a simin in the beams of the mishkan, mimnei shemefarken oso, because they used to take apart the mishkan. Ulekashiyakimu lo yechlefu seder hakrashim. They wanted to know where the different beams go, so when it would be reassembled, it would be clearly labeled. V'yasar Rabbi Yossi l'meimer. What's Rabbi Yossi's chiddush? He's saying da'afilu lo kasav ela rosham shnei rishimas bi'alma l'simin chayiv. It doesn't even need to be letters. Even if you just did some kind of indication, some kind of simin, similar to what they might put on the Mishkan to indicate what beam to put next to the other, that's going to be enough. Shekach kosvin al karshei Mishkan leida ezu ben zugo. They would just write a simin on the beams of the Mishkan to know which one paired up with which other beam. Amar Rav Yehuda says, Matzinu shem katan mishem gadol. We find you can write a small name from a larger name. Rashi here says, Matzino Shem Katan Ha'asal Ashmin Rabbi Yehuda Dafagav Shalo Nigmar Malachto. Even if he didn't finish his malacha, meaning his intention in writing, Sheneskavin Lichtov Teva Gadol, let's say the guy had in mind to write a big word, V'chasav Mixas, he only wrote a little. V'yoso Mixas Have Teva, but that little part that he wrote is in and of itself a word, Hamiskayemes B'makam Acher, which could be a word in some other context. Chayev, he's chayev in that case. Matzinu shem katan mishem gadol shem mishimen. For example, you write the word shem from the name Shimon, umishmuel from the word Shmuel. Noach mi Nachor, you write the word Noach from the word Nachor. Dan mi Daniel, Gad mi Gadil. Those are all examples. Gemara says, Bishlam yamin l'chayiv mishum dederech ksiva b'kach. The first line of the Mishnah said, if you write whether with the right hand or the left hand, you're chayiv. I understand with the right hand, that's the normal way of writing. Ela asmol amai. Why should you be chayiv writing with the left hand? Ha'in derech ksiva b'kach. That's not the normal way to write, so it should basically be a shinoi, and you should be potter. Amar Rav Yirmi says, Be'iter yad shanu. The Mishnah is talking about a lefty in that line of the Mishnah. So the Gemara says, Betahave smol didei, not only in that line, sorry, the Gemara right now thinks we mean it's a lefty in the whole Mishnah. So the Gemara says, once if he's a lefty, Betahave smol didei came into kuliyama, a lefty's left hand should be like a righty's right hand. Ve'asmol l'chayev yamin lo l'chayev. Then he should be chayev on the left hand and not on the right hand. But our Mishnah said you chayev on the right and the left. In what scenario would you be chayev for writing both with your right hand and your left hand? Elam Abai, so Abai says b'sholet b'shtei yadav. You have to say our Mishnah is talking about where the person's ambidextrous. A big chiddush in the Mishnah that the only case it's talking about is this rare case of an ambidextrous person. So Rav Yaakov Berei de Bas Yaakov Amar, Rav Yaakov, the son of Bas Yaakov, says Hamani Rabbi Yossi. You can give a different answer. The author of our Mishnah is actually Rabbi Yossi. Damar lo chayvo shtei osios elamisham roshem. who says that when you write two letters, you're chayiv because of making some. It doesn't have to be real letters. It could just be a siman, something that makes the indication. So that person can do whether with his right hand or his left hand. You don't have to be. You don't have to use your stronger hand. Rashi says, "Hamani Rabbi Yossi de lo boik siva ela roshem be'alma uvesmolo roshem yahavi." Using a left hand would qualify as roshem. So the Gemara says, well, that's a nice answer, but v'hami de sefer Rabbi Yossi he. Reishalav Rabbi Yossi. If at the end of the Mishnah we already start quoting Rabbi Yossi, that implies that the beginning of the Mishnah is not Rabbi Yossi. The Gemara says Kula Rabbi Yossi. You can say that the entire Mishnah is authored by Rabbi Yossi. So that is the second answer given by Rav Yaakov, Brei de Bas Yaakov, that the Mishnah doesn't have to be talking about a strange case of an ambidextrous person. It could all be following the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Amar Rav Yehuda Matzino. Rav Yehuda said the cases of Shem Mishimon, you're also chayiv. Ela Rabbi Yehuda shtei osios v'hein shnei shemos hu de mechayiv, shtei osios v'hein shem echad lo mechayiv. So 1 second, according to Rabbi Yehuda, if you have two letters from two shemos, you're going to be chayiv, but not if it's from one shem. Is that going to be the case? Rashi here explains. V'hein shnei shemos kagon hanach denakab masnishin she'ein on Shabbos. It sounds like the way that Rabbi Yehuda is saying is shem mishimon, noach minachor, dan mi Daniel. Those are all different letters, shin and a mem, or a nun and a ches, or a dalet and a nun. So it sounds like you need to have two separate letters, but you can't have it be the same letter. Is that really what he was saying? And the Gemara continues its question, V'atanya, but we learned in a brisa, V'asa achas, when it talks about karban chatos, it says you do one of these things. Yachol ad sheyichdav kol hashem, maybe you have to write the entire word in order to be chayiv on Shabbos, so karban chatos, ve'ad sheyera kol habeged, maybe you have to weave an entire garment, ve'ad sheyasa kol hanofe, maybe you have to make an entire sieve. Talmud lomer me'achas, so the pasuk says, from one of these things, only part of it. Imei achas, if we took that literally, me'achas yachol afilu lo kasav elos achas, maybe you only need to write one letter. V'lo oreg elchut echad, you only need to weave one string. V'lo asa labayis echad b'nafar, you only need to do one wraparound when it comes to the sieve. So the brisa will continue, and we'll see the conclusion of this question in the next video on Daf Kuf Gimel Amud Beis.